Okay, Tony, count to 10.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to Google for Education's webinar series focusing on the emerging trends in education. Today, we're going to be looking at how to streamline your lesson planning in order to innovate your pedagogy. On the call today, you have me, Cabo Antonia Obowu, and Beatrice Miller, who you will hear from later on in the session. Beatrice is a grade teacher at Winberg Girls Junior School in South Africa. You also have with us today the content developers, Kati Oka and Castrol. And as usual, Barbara Brand will be on the chat. So be sure to say hi and let us know that you are here. As I mentioned earlier, my name is Cabo Antonia Obowu, and I'll be starting the session today. I am the director and the head of school of the Dufcote Educational Center in Port Harcourt, Nigeria. Before we get started, we would like to say thank you to our partners for helping to make this session today possible. So thank you once again to Open Networks, to Snapify Education, and to MKB Consulting, a Google for Education partner in Nigeria, for helping to bring this session to teachers across Africa. So, today's session is the 8th session in a 10-part series that is focusing on the 8 emerging trends in education. So we have already covered digital responsibility, life skills and workforce preparation, computational thinking, student-led learning, and how to connect guardians and schools. So today we're starting the Innovating Pedagogy series, which will be divided into 2 sessions. So if you missed any of the previous sessions or you would simply like to go over the content again, please follow the link that Barbara will drop in the chat and you will find the resources and the links for all of these sessions. So let's get started with the session this afternoon and dive right into streamlining your lesson planning with the first session in our Innovating Pedagogy mini series. Now, this is where we would bring together most of the tools that we have learned about in this webinar series. So, if we're going to talk about innovating pedagogy, it is important to first understand what pedagogy is in order to fully innovate it. The Oxford Dictionary defines pedagogy as the method and practice of teaching. So it encompasses all aspects of the lesson, from the topics covered, the way we teach our lessons, and the way in which our learners are able to understand the content. So there are 5 main pedagogical approaches we will be looking at in details this afternoon. So these are Constructivist approach, collaborative approach, the integrative approach, the reflective approach, and the inquiry-based approach. Now, it is important to note that these are all learner-centered teaching and learning approaches, and it's also important to keep this in mind as we begin to unpack each of these approaches a little more. So, the constructivist approach encourages learners to create meanings and knowledge from their personal and societal experiences. So, as we all know, students learn best when they are actively engaged and not just passively receiving information from their teachers. So, this allows them to construct their own understanding of the world they live in. They would then learn by reflecting on their own experiences, just as adults do. So since knowledge cannot be simply imparted, it is important to create opportunities for our learners that will facilitate the construction of knowledge. A collaborative teaching approach in the classroom helps learners to work together and develop the skills needed to work effectively in groups. This includes defending their viewpoints, reframing their ideas, and listening to others in a respectful manner. So it is important that they are able to articulate their own viewpoints, which allows them to develop a better understanding of information as individuals, and then taking into account the knowledge they had gained from the group interaction. That's very, very important. So the integrative approach across subjects will help learners to bring their prior knowledge and experiences into your classroom. So this will help them to engage in the content in a more complex level, and then see the connections between the various subjects. So as educational professionals, we need to think of education as not just a knowledge silos. Now we need to begin to break down the subject silos and begin to work together to create learning experiences using cross-curricular links. So in life, for instance, we do not go about doing math for 30 minutes and then moving on to something else. Instead, we apply the skills we learn in math into practical life activities. So this is why it is crucial that we begin to draw connections between the various subjects that we teach and let our learners understand these connections. Now, a reflective approach to learning allows learners to reflect on information and think critically on what has been done to see how it may be improved. So, being reflective is an art where you need to be actively aware of your thought processes that lead to the understanding of something. So, we are then able to relook information critically. Now, to use this approach in your classrooms, you must allow your learners enough time to reflect. I can't overemphasize that. Enough time to reflect on the questions you pose, enough time to reflect on the problems they have to solve, and then they can now come up with their own conclusions. And then the inquiry-based learning is focused on discovery and problem solving. So here, the learner's role in the learning process is emphasized. The learning happens through interaction, through questioning, and through designing of the learning process. Now, inquiry-based learning was covered in detail in our earlier webinars on student-led learning. So if you missed that webinar or you simply want to go over it, be sure to follow the link that Barbara is going to pop into the chat. So now, once we have the topic, we have the lesson idea and the pedagogical approach we want to use, it is now important to plan out the lesson that we're going to teach. Now, this is useful in so many ways, from just being prepared for our lessons by having all the resources and the time frames in mind, to collaborating with our colleagues to ensure that the entire department teaches the same content. So, collaboration in the Google Workspace environment really helps to streamline our workflows, and that's what we're going to be looking at this afternoon. So being able to work together on a document while not having to be in the same room with your colleagues is a great way to get your lesson planning done at any time and from anywhere. So you can share your ideas with your colleagues on a document and leave your comments and suggestions for everyone. Now, we covered creating comments and live collaborations in our webinar on collaborative classrooms. So be sure to follow the link in the chat and you would want to revise those skills. I'm sure you will want to revise them. Okay, so now we are here. So setting up a lesson plan, as we know as educators, can sometimes be quite time consuming. But however, Google Docs has a few lesson plan templates that you can use. So creating a plan with this template is really, really helpful in saving you time. So you can just change some words or headings and easily create a well-presented lesson plan without forgetting the important information, as the headings and the outlines are already there for you. So what a relief for us teachers. I'm sure you're all excited to find out that there's a relief for you here. So we're all going to see what's next. So now I'm going to take you on an adventure and we're going to see how we can access this templates in Google Docs. So the first thing we want to do is go to docs.google.com. Yes, and there you have loads and loads of templates to work with. But you know, oftentimes we're just so very quick and then we do not want to really dive deep into what's in here. But if you use the drop down arrow in the template gallery, you're going to find loads and loads of templates, from reports, essay writing templates, class notes, whatever templates you need as a teacher, you will find in here. But for the purpose of this presentation, we're just going to limit ourselves to the lesson plan template. And here we have three lovely lesson plan templates, but I'm just going to focus on one that I love so much, and that's this one by the Reading Rainbow. So here you are, you have your wonderful lesson plan, and then you have this template for you to work on. So it does have the name of the lesson, the summary of the lesson, the what subject you're teaching, the grade level you're teaching, the learning context, the procedure. So everything is already outlined here for you. All you need to do, like I said earlier, is just for you to go in there and begin to edit to suit your context. Okay, so for instance, under differentiated instruction, you have differentiated learning for visual learners, auditory learners, kinesthetic learners, ESL learners, at-risk students. So probably in your own context, you call your at-risk students the support group. So you could just change it to suit whatever context you work in. And here you have a template to work with. And then something fantastic I'd like to show to you is a lesson plan outline. So for instance, you've prepared this load, a long set of lesson plans with long pages. So, and you really want to quickly access one session. Now, you don't need to start scrolling to search for that. All you need to do is to go to the outline, and then you will see the session. So, if I want to quickly go back to my lesson summary, it takes me back to that session. So, it's such a fantastic template for us to use as educators, and it really works really well to help you get that lesson plan really done and in time. So now, planning our lesson plans and planning our lessons and gathering resources, like I said earlier, can be quite time consuming. However, the ability to link multiple documents, websites, and other resources into Google Docs will allow you to have all of the resources that you need for your lessons linked in one place. That's the part I love so much. All of your resources, all of the activities you need on your lesson plan, you can just link them in one place, and this makes them easy to share with your colleagues or even to access them when you are teaching. So let's go on another adventure as I take you through a lesson plan that has been prepared using one of the templates that we had looked at earlier on. So this is a lesson plan on the life cycle of the butterfly, and like you can see, this has been edited to suit the context of this webinar series. So here you have the summary. The subject is life skills. The grade is a grade 3 lesson. You have your objectives. So you could go ahead to add your success criteria and all that you need to do. So here we have the implementation. We have the introduction to the lesson. You have the procedures and everything. And then you can notice that there are some text that are highlighted in blue in here. For instance, you have introduction. These are simply hyperlinks that take you to other resources that you would want to use in the course of this lesson. So I'm just going to click on one of these hyperlinks, and then that's the introduction. So I can choose to open this in the preview mode, or I can just preview and then go through all the slides that I want to go through, or I can choose to open this up in another tab in the course of my lesson. So this is such a fantastic tool for you to do, for you to use. And I'm sure a lot of you are beginning to wonder, so how were these hyperlinks created? Never mind, I'm just going to show you that now, and I'm sure you're ready to learn. Okay, so let's say I want to hyperlink something. I want to bring in a resource that I'm going to need in my lesson. So I get to the point, let's say I want to hyperlink it here, life cycle of the insect. So all I'm going to do is to highlight the part of the lesson where I want to drop the hyperlink, and then I go to whatever resource that I want to bring into my lesson. So it could be a video that I have prepared to show to my learners at that point. It could be another document, it could be a slide, but here I'm going to show you how to hyperlink it to another slide. Okay, so here I have the slides that have been prepared here. So one thing I want you to know is that each of the slides in this presentation does have its own specific URL. Okay, it does have its own specific URL. So slide 1 has its URL, slide 2 does has its own URL. So let's say I want to hyperlink slide 2 to that part of my lesson plan. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to copy the URL here, okay, and back to my lesson plan. So when I get to my lesson plan, remember I have already highlighted this part. This is where I want to drop the hyperlink. So I'm just going to go up here to the link icon. I'll click on the link, and then I'm just going to paste the URL that I had copied earlier, and then I apply it. And when I apply it, here it is, hyperlink created. So at the point in this lesson when I get there and I need to show my learners the activity on that slide, all I need to do is to click on this hyperlink, and then it takes me right to the activity. So here it is, you can open it, you can view it here. So it's already in here. So it's such a fantastic thing that you can do as a teacher, as an educator, to get you saving time and bringing all of the resources that you want to link into your lessons. And then there's something fantastic I really want to show you about this lesson. Okay, so you have the slide presentation. So you could just go to the slides, and then we'll click on the slides, and then here we are. We want to look at it. Do we want to preview it, or we want to look at it? So we're going to look at it in another slide. So you have all the activities that I will be needing for this lesson. Everything is outlined here. So I'm just going to be going to different sessions to show my learners what they need to see. And then it's also a very interactive activity here. So at some point you could actually ask your learners to do an interactive activity here. You finish teaching the lesson and you want them to begin to sort the different stages of the life cycle of the butterfly. So you could have your learners actually move this. So I'm going to click on this. Okay, so all they need to do is to click and drop, click, and then drop it where they need to drop it. So it's really, really interactive. And then one thing I'd like to show you before I quickly run off this session, because there's a lot for us to learn today. So as educators, when we're done teaching, one thing we want to do is the plenary and then the assessment. We want to see how well our learners have understood our lessons. So I'm just going to take you to the assessment session to see how you can actually hyperlink this to a Google form. A Google form that has already been prepared for the lesson. So at this point, I want to now assess my learners. All I need to do is to click on this, and then I click on this, and then off I go. It takes me straight to the Google form that my learners will be needing for this lesson. So here it is, an activity for them to do. I want to see how well they have understood the lesson. So when looking at the life cycle of the butterfly, what part of the lesson does the picture demonstrate? So what is this? So the learners can click on this is a caterpillar. Okay, and so it's so interactive. A lot that you can do with your lesson plan. So as teachers, I would just like to advise that as soon as you're off this webinar, just dive deep into Google Docs and begin to see all the wonderful things that you can do with your lesson planning in there. All right. So now that all the resources that you have can easily be created and organized into one central place, we're going to be looking at a fantastic place where you can organize all of this, and that is the Google Drive. Now, Google Drive is available on all devices. So accessing your lesson plans and your resources is really, really quick and easy from wherever you are and whenever you may need it. Now, one of the most amazing, when I say amazing, I mean amazing. One of the most amazing features of the Google Workspace is that you no longer need to click on save. So that means that never again will you lose your work because you weren't able to save in time. And I'm sure a lot of us as educators have actually lost our documents because we did not click save on time. I have lost quite a lot of my documents. So it's such a fantastic feature in the Google Workspace. You don't need to click on save. So all of your documents and the edits that you make to them are automatically saved to Drive, so that you only need to worry about your planning and creating and not worrying about your work being saved. Isn't that fantastic? So this is particularly helpful if you have load shedding or moments where there's power cut, or just with unstable internet connections. You don't need to worry about that again. So now that everything we create is automatically saved without us needing to worry, we now need to learn to become super organizers in our Drive. Because if we don't learn to organize our drives effectively, our drives will become really, really chaotic. And that's one word I know that teachers do not want to hear: chaotic. Okay, so we don't want our drives to become chaotic. So the question we're going to ask now is, how are we able to organize our files and folders effectively in Google Drive? So you're able to organize the content of your drive into two ways. Sorry. The first is from within the document itself, by using the Drive icon on the top left of the screen. Never mind, I'm going to show that to you shortly. And then the second is by creating the document in the Drive folder location you would like it to be organized into. Okay, so now I'm going to take you on another adventure. So we're going to go to access our drive. So we're going to go to a new tab, and then we'll go to the waffle where we have all the apps. Okay, so you just click on this apps, and then you have loads and loads and loads of apps that are in here for you to use. So you have your Drive, you have Classroom, you have Docs, Sheet, everything. Loads and loads of fantastic tools. But for the purpose of this presentation, I'm just going to be focusing on Drive. So we want to see how we can organize our documents into our drive so that we don't have chaotic drives. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to go to the document that we had, the lesson plan template we had used earlier on, and then what we want to do is to save this document straight into our drive from the document stage. Okay, so now I'm going to have to, okay, so while I wait for the plan to come up, I'm now going to ask, okay, so I'm going to wait. All right, so while waiting for the documents to come up, yes, so here we are. So this is the lesson plan template that we had looked at earlier on, and now we want to save this into our drive. So now the first thing you want to do is rename this to suit whatever purpose you need it for. So I'm going to rename this, and I'm going to name it lesson plan 5, for instance. Okay, and then you have the folder just by the title of the document. So you have here, you have your drive. Now you have the liberty to save it into your drive directly or into a folder that you want to create. So I'm going to create a folder because I really want my drive to be really, really organized. So I'm going to create a folder, and I'm going to call this folder webinar 6. Okay, sorry, webinar 6. So I'm going to call this webinar 6, and I have my folder created. Okay, and then I now have to move this document in here. So this lesson plan has now already been moved into my webinar 6 folder in my drive. So you see, it's such a fantastic way, and from here you can now decide to share it to members of your team or share it to anyone that you need to share it with. So the next thing I want to show you is how you can actually save this document, organize it first in your drive. So the first thing you want to do is, when you get into your drive, you want to go to new and create a new folder. So here we are, we have to go to new, and then I want to create a new folder. So what am I going to call this folder? I'm going to call this folder webinar 7. Okay, and then I create the folder that's working directly from my drive. So I have this folder created, and it's called webinar 7. So what I want to do is go into webinar 7 and really organize this folder. I want to organize this folder really, really well. So I'm going to organize my folder into terms. So I'm going to create a new folder in here, and I'm going to name it term 3. So I'm going to name this new folder term 3. Okay, so here we go. Okay, so I'm going to name this folder term 3. Okay, so I have a folder that's a subfolder in my webinar 7 folder, and then I want to now organize my lesson plan directly into this. So I'm now going to double click on it, and then I'm going to go to new. Now this time around, I'm not going to create a new folder. What I'm going to do is go to Google Docs, and then I have the option here to either choose a blank document or from a template. So I'm going to pick from a template, and then it takes me back to the Google Docs templates we had looked at earlier. Okay, the gallery we have looked at earlier. So I'm now just going to scroll and pick my lesson plan that I want to organize into that folder. And so it's just so fantastic how you can just quickly organize things before they get really, really chaotic for you. Okay, so I have this lesson plan, and then you can see that this lesson plan has now been saved to my drive. You can see it's saved immediately to my drive. The last edit was seconds ago, so you see you don't need to worry about saving. Okay, so this lesson plan, I'm going to call it lesson plan 8 or 6 or 8. Okay, all right, and then you can see here that this folder has already been saved in my term 3 folder, lesson plan 8. So it's such a fantastic way for you to organize your drive. But before I go, there's something else I want to show to you, and that's how to search for documents in your drive. So let's say you're here in your drive. You're looking for a document, but you can't really tell where or the name of the document. You just want to search for it. So you could just go in here and search. So is it a slide presentation you're looking for? Is it a video? Or do you want to search by somebody's name who has shared it with you? So I'm just going to click on presentation because I'm looking for a presentation slide. Okay, so when I click on presentation, all the slide presentations in my drive will pop up, and then I'll just quickly look through it and see which one I want. But let's say that I have searched and I can't really find what I'm looking for. I can actually do an advanced search. Okay, so I can actually search by the person who shared it with me. What is a presentation I'm looking for? Is this sent by anyone, or there's a particular person I know? I can remember this document was sent to me by someone, so by a specific person. So I'm just going to search by the person's name or email. So I'm just going to be looking for something that was shared with me by Juliet, and I search. And so every slide presentation that Juliet has shared with me will pop up, and I will now be able to access what I am looking for. So it's such a fantastic thing for us to have as educators, for us to be able to use our Google Docs to plan our lessons, and for us to be able to organize our folders effectively. And from there, we're now able to share with our colleagues or our management. Isn't that wonderful? I'm sure you're all excited about that. So now that we have looked at creating the lesson plans and how to organize them effectively, we are now going to look at some lovely resources that you can use in your classrooms. So I'm now going to hand you over to the awesome Beatrice. Beatrice is going to wow us this afternoon, and she's going to take us through how to engage learners with exciting and interactive resources. So over to you, Beatrice.
Thank you so much, Antonia. It was so wonderful to hear about all these exciting templates and how easy it is to organize your layout of your lesson plans and how to organize them effectively in Google Drive. So reaching more learners. When designing our lesson plans, we need to think about how to reach the learners in our class and ensure that they understand the content we are covering, as well as gain the knowledge through the activities we set. David Kolb states in his book, learning is the process whereby knowledge is created through the transformation of experience. Knowledge results from the combination of grasping experience and transforming it. This relates back to the first bit of this presentation, where Antonia discussed the different learner-centered pedagogical approaches. Robert John Meehan reminds us that every child has a different learning style and pace. Each child is unique, not only capable of learning, but also capable of succeeding. It is vital that we take this into consideration when designing our lesson plans. There are multiple types of resources we can use when we plan our lessons, which will help to engage our learners in different ways. We have visual resources, and these can be images, diagrams, or videos that will help our learners to see and visualize the concept we are teaching. The color palette feature of Google Arts and Culture is a wonderful way to get learners exploring and engaged and researching based on a color choice, while oral resources will engage our learners through listening. This could be an audiobook, songs, or listening comprehension exercise. Verbal resource will engage our learners verbally through talking and writing. These resources will help the learners to discuss information and present their understanding of a topic being covered. Kinesthetic. Kinesthetic resources are physical resources that let our learners learn by doing. These resources could include a movement exercise to help our learners gain understanding of the topic. This could be acting out the life cycle of a butterfly, relating back to Antonia's lesson, or even doing brain breaks or movement activities. If you have never explored Go Noodle before, be sure to check it out. Barbara will put a link in the chat. Continuing, there are logical resources, and these require learners to incorporate reasoning and logic and are a lovely way to enhance their computational thinking skills. If you would like to know more about possible resources for computational thinking, be sure to listen to our webinar session on the topic. Social, collaboration, and group work are perfect examples of social resources, and this will help our learners to learn valuable skills like working together and communication. This will allow your learners to create collaboration slides and documents to present their thoughts on a topic. And while we have social, it's also important that learners work alone on certain tasks and have some solitary resources. This is a good way for learners to engage with multiple types of resources that work for them. It also helps them to improve their research skills if they are encouraged to find answers themselves. So if we're able to include a variety of these resources into our lessons, then we can be sure to engage our learners in the content. This will ensure a well-rounded understanding of the topic being covered and create an excitement to learn. How can we do this? We can use YouTube, and YouTube is a powerful tool in our classroom. With videos from this platform, we are able to include visual, oral, and kinesthetic resources in our lesson plans. We have covered YouTube in previous webinars, so be sure to check out the links in the chat to see how to create class channels, upload videos, and search effectively within the space. Some of our learners may never get to explore other parts of the world, while others have seen more places than we have. However, there are many tools to encourage learners from all parts of Africa to explore the world around them. We have Google Earth, and Google Earth is a wonderful way to show them the terrain and buildings in cities all over the world. Google Arts and Culture, and this can let them explore artworks, historical sites, and museums around the world. You can let your learners walk down streets in various countries and cities with Google Street View. And Socratic, you can encourage learners to find answers to their burning questions using Socratic. So let's dive into these. Firstly, to help our learners learn about culture around the world, we use Google Arts and Culture. This is a wonderful tool to help learners walk through museums and understand artworks and learn with fun experiments exploring a range of topics. Google has collaborated with galleries and historical sites, which will empower your learners to explore a wide variety of places and culture. Art camera. The art camera feature allows learners to zoom into high-definition artworks and visually see the brushworks used by famous artists. Certain museum artifacts will allow this too, and you and your learners can explore wings of a butterfly or moth, or inspect the spacesuit that Neil Armstrong wore to the moon. Your possibilities are endless with Art Camera. The experiments on Google Arts and Culture are a fun way to have learners understand many different topics, and these change quite often, so be sure that you have Google Arts and Labs working to see where your learners can experiment in class. You can build puzzles, you can learn in visual crossword puzzles as well, or experiment with harmonies by taking the Blob Opera on tour. There are so many wonderful museums around the world, and there are beautiful collections of history, and it's worth a visit. Although it's difficult in the current times for us to be able to physically go, with the collections in Google Arts and Culture, you and your learners can walk through the Museum of Modern Art in New York and journey to Spain in an instant to explore the Cirilla Museum from the comfort of your classroom. The Google Arts and Culture mobile app has even more features packed into it. Use the color palette feature to search for artworks and objects within a certain color range. See how big artworks are in real life with the art projector. Or just use a recommended museum to wander through from the list given each day. There are wonderful ways for your learners to explore various art styles while having fun. You can use styles from famous artists to create a selfie or change a photo of your classroom. You can use famous artifacts from museums around the world to add an element of excitement to your photos. So today we're going to dive into Google Arts and Culture. So I've got it open here, and you could simply type in artsandculture.google.com, and it will take you to the home screen. And as mentioned before, you have top picks for the day, and these change daily. So every day there'll be a different topics over here. And here we've got an insect inspection, which related to the life cycle of a butterfly lesson that Antonia mentioned earlier. We've got a famous artist here, art's greatest hidden messages, and every day there'll be different topics over here that your learners could explore. As we scroll down, you can visit different museums as well. There is an interactive space, which I will dive into later. Play with art using your phone, and I'd like to show you the color palette. So these are artworks based on color. So whether you're doing an art project or you just like the learners to select a color of their choice and view different artworks. So I'm going to go with orange. And what it will do is open up artworks based on the color, and it will provide you with information on the artist and more detail on the artworks. This is something that you could get lost in as well while researching for your lesson, or your learners could get really involved in as well. So I've gone back to the home page, and I would like to search for a museum. So a museum relating to our previous lesson, and that was on the life cycle of butterfly. So I'm going to search for insect, and I get an insect museum of West China. So what this then does is it will take us to the Insect Museum of West China, and it will provide us with information on the museum and what you can see in the museum. So they tell you their collection and all the different types of insects, that you can find in the museum. There's images included as well. And the best part is you don't just have to rely on what you see on this page. You can actually go to the museum. So you can explore the outside of the museum by clicking on the exterior view. And this will take you to the street view or the external view of the museum. So right now we are standing outside the Insect Museum of West China. And here, you can just scroll and move your cursor around to see the exterior side of the museum. Isn't this amazing? That you, just by clicking, can be in West China. But even better is if I just go back, we can go inside the museum. So I'm going to click over here and we're going to view the interior side of the museum. Here, it takes you to the entrance and you can take a tour through the museum. This is an awesome interactive activity. You could go through this first and find different areas that you'd like your learners to explore more about. You can view what they have hanging up here on display. And here we've got different types of butterflies and moths. Okay, we can have a whole 360-degree view of the museum without having left your classroom. Isn't this just the best? Right. So you can launch the interior view to explore inside the gallery. And this is not the only type of museum that you could search. There are thousands of different museums to search for. But let's explore some more. So I'm going to go to the Explore button at the top. And I mentioned before that there are interactive activities that you could participate in, and that is the Google Arts and Culture experiments. Let's have a look. So there are visual crosswords, there are puzzles, and there are quizzes and art coloring in books. So this, again, could be part of your art lesson, or this could be time for your learners to explore and be creative. One of my favorites to do on Google Arts and Culture experiments is Who Came First? And this is a quiz where they have two pictures and you need to select which happened first. So over here, we've got let's get started. So here we've got Jennifer Lopez and Going My Way, a movie. I need to pick who came first. I'm going to go with Going My Way. And what's awesome is that you've got a time limit, it gives you instant feedback, and then it also provides you with information on when the film was made and when the celebrity was born. Okay, let's try another one. Okay, let's go. Next one. We've got Winona Ryder and The Last Emperor. Okay, which one came first? Okay, got this wrong. Again, it shows you the year, and again, more information about this. This is something that you could base on famous movies or celebrities or even famous inventions. And I'm going to leave this before we keep quizzing and losing at what came first. But as you can see, one could get lost in the world of arts and culture. But let's see what other awesome Google features we could include in our lesson planning. So Google Earth is an exciting tool that you can use in your classroom. According to the homepage of Earth, it is the world's most detailed globe, and it incorporates a 3D rendition of buildings and terrain throughout hundreds of cities around the world. These are amazing features that can be explored in your classroom as well. So we have Voyager, and with Voyager, you can go on interactive stories that have been created with partners like National Geographic and help your learners understand more about the world around them. You can create a story where you can collaborate as a class to create your own digital story by traveling to different parts on a globe. You can create a story looking at volcanoes or navigate to the 7 wonders of the world and fill your learners with incredible earth knowledge that we call home. We have Timelapse, and this is a great way to see the impact that humans have had on the world. You can see the impact of deforestation and global warming in a matter of minutes, and start your learners thinking and discussing global issues. So just like Google Arts and Culture, where we've just looked at the street view, the exterior view of the museum, you can have the street view in Google Earth as well. With this feature, you can easily drop into a famous street. Why not use Street View to visit important locations in the life of an icon you might be learning about? For example, if you're learning about apartheid and Nelson Mandela, why not visit Robben Island and walk around the island to get a better idea of what the space looks like? Together, you can see what streets and structures around the world look like. When using the Google Street View app, also available on your mobile device, you are able to create your own 360-degree image of a place that you have been to. So this allows you to explore and look at a place. This opens up many opportunities where places that may not have been captured have footage which can now be seen. This also means that each place is constantly getting new footage for you to explore, to see what it looks like from different people's perspectives. So let's dive into Google Earth. So as I mentioned, you have the option of Voyager. So I've opened up earth.google.com, and here we have the globe. And over here on the side, on the left, you've got different taskbars. This is the search. The wheel over here is for Voyager. Over there, they have different pics of the day, any projects that you have created, and how you would like to view your map. Let's dive into Voyager. So as mentioned before, Voyager allows you to see different views around the world, and they have different topics that you can view. I would like to show you views from space. So as you scroll down, you can see there's different options, there's different terrains that you could view, species as well. But I would like to show you reading the ABCs from space. This is awesome. This is something you could do with all age groups, and where you can see images taken from space that represent the letters of the alphabet. So as you launch Google Voyager, it takes you into reading the ABCs from space, and it has an explanation of what this voyage is about. And here we have all the letters of the alphabet. And what it does is takes you to where this letter could be located in the world. So let's have a look for Z, letter Z. And it takes you out from where letter A was, zooms out, moves you across the globe to where they find the patterning of the letter Z. And it provides you with information of where this image was captured and when. So this image was captured in South Africa, and it's actually mountains northeast of Port Elizabeth. How awesome. So you could also have your learners pick a letter and research more information on the place where this letter has been found. Let's have a look for W. This will then take you out from South Africa, moves you, transports you all across the globe. And here we have W, which ends up being in Turkey. So this image is of a lake in Turkey. Let's do one more. The letter O takes you from Turkey, all the way to Mauritania. And again, it provides you with information on where this image was captured. So as you can see, you could get lost in Voyager. Reading letters from space is just one of the features that you could view on Voyager. But we also have Google for Education. So on Google for Education is where you can create your digital story. You can explore grid lines and latitude and longitudinal lines with Google for Education, and you can also view time-lapse videos. And let's go have a look at time-lapse. So time-lapse videos allow you to see videos taken from damages from deforestation and global warming. So all over here on the side here on the left, there's different videos that you could view from around the world and the effects that it's had on the earth. So let's view a video from Africa, and here we've got a deforestation video taken from Madagascar. So what this does, again, like Google Earth, it transports you from where it started originally all the way over to Madagascar. And what it does is, at the bottom over here, it takes you through the years from when the deforestation period started to the current date. So you could pause this and view the effects of deforestation. So this is awesome because you can visually see the effects over time. And there are different options here for other places where there's been deforestation, effects of mining, global warming, bushfires as well. Let's go back to Google Earth and continue our search and see what else we can do in Earth. So I'm going to go back to the original tab where I found Voyager, and I'm going to go to the search bar. And with the search bar, you can search for any place in the world. And if you had a project based on capital cities in Africa, then you'd have the learners search for the city, and it would then take them over to that city. So let's search for Windhoek. So Windhoek, Namibia, it pops up over there. So it takes you from where you were currently, and it transports you, flies you over to Windhoek. What's really awesome as well is that it tells you that it's the capital of Namibia. It provides you with information, and you can select more information, and it will provide you with points of interest and information for the learners. And if you were creating a project on capital cities, then all you'd have to do is go to this add project option over here, select it. It'll automatically put Windhoek as your place over there. If your title of your project was capital cities in Africa, you change your project title there and save it. And Windhoek automatically saves to your project. Okay, but we would like to explore another country or another capital city in Africa as well. So let's search for Lilongwe. Lilongwe. And that is capital of Malawi. And from Windhoek, again, it will take you over and it will take you to Lilongwe in Malawi. And again, you'll have information pop up, which is so awesome because learners don't have to open another tab then to find out more information on the capital. And I can add this to my project. It automatically captures the capital cities in Africa, and I'll save it here. What's so awesome as well is that I could go back to Lilongwe and view a street view from somewhere in Lilongwe. So what I would do is click on my little Google man here, and I'm going to drop him somewhere in Lilongwe and see what I can find. And what this will do then is fly you and zoom you into where you have selected, and then you will have a street view of where you've dropped him into. This is awesome because this could be part of what do the buildings look like, what do the plants look like, the climate, the vegetation. And here you can, this looks like a resort or hotel. And again, you've got a 360-degree view of an area in Lilongwe. How awesome is that? So you can add different places to your project, you can name it, you can edit it as well. You can add a description. So if you'd like to describe this as top capital cities to visit in Africa, you could add the description as well. Your options are endless. But when using all these amazing features, I'm sure that the learners will have so many questions for you based on the content. So how do we navigate ensuring that the learners are being attended to, but also making sure that we encourage independent learning? So we want to encourage learners to explore and discover answers to their questions on their own first. Giving them the tools to do this is really valuable in helping them to develop critical thinking and problem-solving skills. Socratic is a lovely mobile app that learners can use to either extend knowledge on a topic or to help find answers to their questions. This app is available on both Android and Apple devices. There are multiple ways for your learners to discover information on a topic. So it's really awesome. They could either choose a topic that they'd like to dive into from the lessons already on the app, or they could take a photo of the question in their books. Or even better, they could record the question that they want answered. So Socratic can help with multiple sources of information. So what Socratic will do is run a search and return multiple results and resources on the topic. There are web searches and articles to explain the answer, which is great because you don't just want the learner to get the answer and then to write it down and to move on. You want them to consolidate and you want them to understand what's been answered. So sometimes there are videos that cover the topic or even results from websites that will allow your learners to work through flashcards and quizzes to learn more about their question. This is a really wonderful way for learners to get the help they need or to extend their knowledge in their own way. While planning these innovative lesson plans with all these integrative resources like Google Arts and Culture and Google Earth and Socratic, it's important to remember this famous quote from Albert Einstein, and that's, everybody is a genius, but if you judge a fish by its ability to climb a tree, it will live its whole life believing that it's stupid. Before we end off today, we have a few resources to share as always. Here's the link to the resources pack that has all the links we spoke about today included, as well as a few extra links that we think will be valuable to you. Please, could you take a few minutes to let us know your thoughts on the session today? The link is going to be dropped in the chat. Thanks once again for joining myself and Antonia on the call. Thank you to Adiola, Emma, Kay, Joseph, Katie, Barbara, and Karen for all your hard work behind the scenes in order to make today possible. We are super thankful. And a big thank you to all of you for watching this session. We look forward to meeting in the next session, where we will unpack the excitement of automatic grading and feedback through Google Workspace.